Welcome back to this channel, guys. I'm so excited to see you here today. So in today's video, I'm going to be detailing the hidden costs with buying a house, things I didn't know, and most especially, I'm going to be sharing some tips, some ideas, especially when dealing with solicitor or your lawyer during the house buying process, with strong focus on, of course, on the money, the cost, and other information that are crucial. So I would advise you stay tuned till the end. Thank you. The first fee I'm going to be talking about here is called the reservation fee. And most times, this is the fee you start with after reserving the home, and usually it's about setting range between 500 to 100 pounds. But in our case, we're able to pay 500 pounds for this, which seems quite low, right? Um, just a bit of information around this. You need to understand that the condition for this money varies from builder to builder. In our case, we had a cooling period of 2 weeks, between which, if we change our mind, we can get a full refund. And in the case of some builders, this is non-refundable. So I would advise you ask these questions to be sure before committing to it. So that's the first fee, just a 500 quid for us, and averagely it ranges between 500 to 1,000 pounds, depending on the builder you're dealing with. So the second fee I'm going to be talking about is, we call it, either some people call it the broker fee or mortgage advisor fee. Um, this fee, I would say, it's also a varied amount, but in our case, we were able to get this at no cost. I'm happy to provide the link to the mortgage advisor we used, so that in case you would like to work with them. And the reason why it came at no cost, that's because the bank that gave loaned us the money for our mortgage provided them commission, and they've settled this fee on our behalf. I would advise for you to check with your broker and be very sure of what this amount would be, should in case you are not lucky like us, so that you have that in mind. Usually, ours was supposed to be about 900 pounds, but of course we didn't pay it. So averagely, we'll be looking at the range of 900 to 1,500. Um, it's a safe amount to have for this particular payment. So I'll move over to the third fee, which is, either it's called the legal fee, some of them call it solicitor fee, and in our case, immediately we got the solicitor we're going to be working with, and they provided us like a quote of what their charges looks like. And when we had an initial glance, it looks like, oh, this money seems affordable, it seems fair. But believe you me, the initial quote can be a bit deceitful, because at the end of the day, when we finished the whole process, there were still other extra costs that came with working or engaging the solicitor. Like in our case, we spent about 1,500 or so, um, and this fee covers both the bank transfer fee. That's the money they would use to, make the disbursement of the purchase. It also includes money for local search and etc. Just to let you know, if you're someone that probably you're buying a house upfront without mortgage, you wouldn't need to pay for local search. Local search came in as a cost we incurred because, of course, we are doing a mortgage. So um, I also want to share something. Whenever you get a request to make certain payment from the legal advisor or the solicitor, it's very, very important have a good recheck, ask necessary questions what you're paying for, because in our case, there are times they make mistakes in as much as these guys are lawyers, but of course, they are not financial experts. So they obviously make some mistakes, and if you're able to spot it, they would make correction and get back. So I would like to hint that in dealing with this solicitor, you have to check very well before making any payment. Anything they are reaching out for you to make payment for, it's always good to go back, have a recheck on what this amount is meant for. Where it's unclear, ask to be very sure, because, of course, buying house is really a big project, and at that point, every penny really counts. So that's a very important point I would like to share about solicitor. They are great guys, but of course, I would say it's very important for you to have a second check before making any payment. So over to the next cost is the moving costs, and of course, you're moving to your new house. You would have to, of course, move your things from where you're staying, your current location, to this new apartment. And for our case, where we are moving, the old house where we're renting, moving to the new house, they are not really far apart. We're looking at an average of 30 to 40 minutes distance away, but we had to ensure we get quotes from different, different vendors to be sure that we are getting the best value for money. And one thing that came really striking to me was the first people we got, we just, of course, did estimate of what we have in each of the rooms. It was a 3 bedroom, and we got a quote of £700. I was like, really? This is really much. From the first person, we move ahead to the next, and the price kept, the difference is not really adding up. The next person charged us as much as 450, and to my greatest surprise, somebody charged us just £200 for this. And just imagine if we had worked with the first person, we'll be losing a whole lot of money. £500 difference is really much. And just to add, of course, £200 is a fair amount because the distance isn't that crazy. And apart from that, there are other factors responsible for this change in price. One is how many movers do you need? Um, Whether you're going to be packaging your items for them, or they are going to be supporting with that, the number of hours they're going to be spending with packing stops, and the number of trips, all that will go a long way to influence the cost. All I'm just trying to say here is make sure you get quotes from several people, compare the rates so that you are, getting the services at a cost that will deliver best value for money, of course. The next cost I'll be discussing now is called the mortgage product fee. For us, we paid as much as £999 for these charges, and that's like approximately £1,000. And when this discussion came up, our mortgage advisor shared that we have two options: either they add it to the mortgage, or we can pay it upfront. And believe you me, if this is added to the mortgage, what it means is we're going to be paying interest for this amount. So I would advise, if you can pay upfront. In our own case, we paid the £1,000 upfront to avoid any form of interest, coming from this added fee that came up. Um, Luckily for us, we received a cashback from our bank of £1,350. But just to let you know, in as much as the possibility of getting the cashback is there, it's important you plan for this money so that there are no surprises when the needs arises. Of course, they can add it to your mortgage, but it comes with certain interest, which I would not advise anybody to incur in this process. The next fee I'm going to be talking about is the stamp duty. As first time buyer, we paid nothing for this particular charges because, of course, our house was below the 4,425K limit for people to pay stamp duty. However, it's something that you would pay if you're buying a property valued above £425,000. In our case, our house was less than that, and as such, we didn't pay any amount. So, should in case you're buying a house that would exceed 425,000, just have it in mind that you're still going to be paying an extra amount of 5% for the property. The next cost I'm going to be discussing is insurances. Here we'll be looking at insurance for the home, for the content, and this is a very important fee because no one's told me that, oh, you need to have an insurance if you're getting a mortgage, but it came as a surprise. But we got to realize that this insurance, you need to provide evidence that you have an active insurance for the property even before the property completion date. So I would advise you to have that in mind that you're going to set aside some money to sort insurance. In our case, the insurance cost costed us like about £297, and this is because we're able to go on comparable website, check prices, look at rates that are really very good, and went for the best in terms of cost amongst the options we saw. So I would recommend that you don't just jump to maybe reaching out to just an insurance company to say, okay, I want to do insurance for my property, but try to go on comparable website, get quotes, compare the quotes, and certainly I'm very sure you're going to get something good in terms of the insurance fee. Um, for us, we paid the whole amount, the whole £297. We paid it one off for the year, but there are options for you to do this payment on a monthly basis. And just to let you know, if you're paying monthly, it means you need to factor this amount into your monthly bill going forward after you're moving to a new house and all. For we didn't just limit it to just, of course, insuring the property alone. We also looked at accidental damages for content within the property. So I would advise you do that, especially if you have kids. Anything can happen within the house, or there may be other damages that would just happen to those beautiful appliances that come with new home. And of course, you got it covered by your insurance. The next cost I'll be talking about, this is not a compulsory one, is the life insurance. Um, Remember, you're collecting a loan from a bank in form of mortgage, and this is a huge amount. It's important you insure your life because, in our case, I did the mortgage with my wife, with both of us, and it's always safe to have a life insurance cost that would cover for anything that may happen. You can't predict two people putting for a mortgage. You don't know what would happen, financial situation, life may happen. And if you have a life insurance, that would go a long way to ensure that the process continuous. You have life insurance to cover for that. Just like I said earlier, for the other insurance for the property, for this one as well, it's good you check comparable website, look at best deal rates for insurance, and the cost for insurance varies based on your lifestyle, your health condition, your different habits, like, are you a smoker, do you drink, and lots of factors. They even went as far as asking me if I go on hiking and etc. You know, for us, we're lucky to get an insurance. I wouldn't say lucky. We got an insurance for £32 monthly, and averagely, if you're budgeting for this, I would say you should look between the range of 30 to £60 for life insurance. Like I mentioned, it's not compulsory, it's optional, but I would strongly recommend you have one done, especially if you're, going for a mortgaged apartment, yeah, or a house. So next, I'll be talking about another cost, which is important. In fact, for me, this came as a surprise, which is the first mortgage payment. My initial understanding is, oh, if I'm on a mortgage and looking at my mortgage instruction illustration, I see that I'm paying certain amount throughout the mortgage phase. It's just in me that, oh, for this particular first payment is going to be same, but me that's not the case. In our case, the first payment was slightly higher. I think about approximately 17% higher than the actual repayment for each month, and that's about 200 and over £200 higher. So anyway, the good thing is it doesn't just come as a surprise because the bank would notify you that your next first payment is going to be slightly higher. So just have that in mind as you prepare and plan for your home. Have that in mind that that very first payment will be slightly higher, and I would recommend you could have at least 20% to 30% higher amount ready to add to the actual mortgage so that you're not taken aback or you're not faced with any surprises. So the next cost I'll be talking about, it's something that is really varies depending on individual, but just to let you know that a new built house can feel very much empty and they actually lack character. So it's always good to plan for that. You need to have money aside to do a bit of decoration work, to also install storages within the apartment. Of course, you need a window blind in your house, curtains, lots of decorations on the wall, and most importantly, if you're buying a house that has a garden, you need to start thinking of which garden equipment do I need to maintain that beautiful garden. But because from the beginning your garden is so lovely, but it requires conscious effort to keep it intact and maintained. So you need to be thinking of buying lots of equipment, to keep the garden up and running. And even though you might decide to say, oh, I don't want to do the gardening work myself, you could look at the option of saving certain amounts or putting it into your plan that on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, depending on the situation, you're going to be engaging somebody to come and work on your garden, and that comes at extra cost. You know, for our blind, when we came in, we got quote from various vendors. We tried to look at as much as 3 to 5 individuals came in. They'll do the normal measurement, give you quotes, and just because we had that multiple options, got quote from different people, we were able to go for somebody that supplied for as low as 630 quid for installation of blinds across all the rooms. And some other vendors that gave us quote was slightly higher. Somebody gave us as much as 800, 850, and 630. Just to reiterate, I've mentioned it before. Getting quotes from several people is really very important. And of course, you need additional storage in the house. You need to set up. You need a wardrobe. You need so many things. You also need storage spaces or rack to put in your shoes, your jackets, and etc. So it's always good to have that in mind. Aside all these I've mentioned, of course, you need to buy a new furniture, you need to look at sofa and so many things to make your new home beautiful and habitable. So this is the full breakdown of what we really paid beyond just the house price. And I hope this helps you avoid surprises and stay financially ready. Um, Let me know in the comments if any of these caught you off guard, or if you have some form of a similar experience like I just shared. I'm happy to see them. Drop them. Please drop your experiences in the comment section. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Comment your questions. I would happily respond to them. And finally, turn on the bell for my next video, where I'll be discussing details on how I saved to buy my first house in the UK. See you then. Thank you.